Welcome to our channel Valuable Coins All World. In this video, I gave you information about United States of America Washington quarter dollar, which are most valuable and rare. If you interested, please see this full video. Thanks. Top 1. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar is one of those fascinating pieces of American history that holds more value than you might initially expect. At first glance, it may seem like any other coin circulating around, but when you dig a little deeper, you realize just how significant this particular year in coin can be to collectors and investors alike. The 1965 Washington quarter is part of a crucial time in American coinage, and understanding its value requires knowledge of its history, rarity, and the circumstances surrounding its minting. First, let's take a step back and understand the context. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932, features the iconic portrait of George Washington, the first president of the United States. While the design has remained relatively unchanged for decades, the coin's composition and production methods have evolved. The 1965 quarter is especially interesting because it marks the year when the United States faced a major transition in coinage due to a shortage of silver. Historically, quarters were composed of 90% silver, but by 1965, silver was becoming increasingly scarce and the price was rising. To combat this, the U.S. Mint decided to produce the quarter with a composition of 40% silver, marking the first time the coin had been altered in decades. This decision affected not only the physical properties of the coin, but also the value, both in terms of face value and collectors' interest. One thing that makes the 1965 Washington quarter particularly noteworthy is that it was the last year the quarter featured silver as part of its composition before the Mint completely switched to a copper-nickel blend in 1966. This makes the 1965 quarter a transitional piece, with an interesting place in the timeline of U.S. coinage. But this isn't the only thing that can make a 1965 quarter valuable. When it comes to rare coins, it's not just about the year or the design. Condition and scarcity matter. Some 1965 Washington quarters were minted with errors, which can significantly increase their value. For example, certain 1965 quarters were struck with die cracks or double die imprints. These errors are typically the result of a flaw in the minting process, and as a result, they create a much rarer version of the coin. Collectors go crazy for these types of rare finds, sometimes paying much more than the face value or even the typical market price of a standard coin. Another factor contributing to the value of the 1965 Washington quarter is its grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. A well-preserved 1965 quarter with minimal wear and tear is more likely to fetch a higher price, especially if it's certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. These grades are important to collectors because they indicate the coin's overall condition and its potential for future appreciation. While the general 1965 Washington quarter may not seem like it would fetch much, the rarity, condition, and errors are what separate a common coin from a valuable one. Coins like this don't always have a predictable price, especially when there are so many factors at play. But when a coin has the right combination of rarity and condition, the price can skyrocket. In fact, some rare 1965 Washington quarters have been known to sell for truly astounding amounts of money. In certain cases, these coins, especially those in nearly perfect condition or with valuable minting errors, have commanded prices that seem almost too good to be true. Believe it or not, one of these 1965 quarters has even been valued at a staggering $122,000. This price tag might come as a surprise, but it's a reflection of just how important rare coins can be within the world of numismatics. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a newcomer interested in coin hunting, understanding the value of a coin like the 1965 Washington quarter can open up new opportunities for profit and discovery. The combination of historical significance, the transition to a new minting process, and the rare minting errors make this coin a gem in the world of American currency, and for the right piece in top condition, it's clear that it can be worth an eye-popping amount of money. So, the next time you come across a 1965 Washington quarter, take a closer look. It might just be a more valuable piece of history than you thought. Keep in mind that value can fluctuate depending on the coin's condition, rarity, and market demand. But if you find the right one, you could be holding on to a rare treasure worth as much as $122,000. Top 2. The 1970 Washington quarter dollar might not be one of the first coins that comes to mind when you think about valuable U.S. currency, but it has an interesting story and has been known to surprise collectors. At a glance, this quarter might appear like just another piece of pocket change from the era, but if you dig a little deeper, you'll realize that the 1970 Washington quarter has a special place in the history of American coinage, as well as the potential to be a rare and valuable find. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932, has always been a staple in U.S. coinage. The design featuring George Washington, the nation's first president, has remained iconic throughout the years. But when it comes to the 1970 quarter, things take a unique turn. This particular year is often overlooked by many casual collectors as it doesn't stand out for the typical reasons, such as being a key date or featuring noticeable design changes. However, the value of the 1970 Washington quarter isn't solely based on its design or year of issue. Like many coins, it's the condition, rarity, and occasional mint errors that can make it a sought-after treasure. In the early 1970s, the United States was in a period of transition in its coinage. While quarters before this time were primarily made of 90% silver, by 1965, the composition of the quarter shifted to 40% silver due to rising silver prices. This lasted until 1969, after which the U.S. Mint completely stopped using silver in most regular issue coins, opting for a copper-nickel blend instead. The 1970 Washington quarter, like its predecessors from 1966 onwards, is made of a copper-nickel mixture and features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. What makes a 1970 quarter stand out in terms of value? While it's true that most 1970 Washington quarters aren't considered rare by standard definition, certain factors can drastically influence their worth. First, the condition of the coin plays a huge role. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect. If you happen to find a 1970 Washington quarter in an almost flawless state, it could be worth far more than its face value. But beyond just condition, mint errors can make a 1970 quarter particularly valuable. Errors occur when there's a mistake during the minting process, leading to misprints, off-center strikes, or other abnormalities. Some of the most valuable 1970 quarters were minted with specific errors, such as double die or striking issues that resulted in clear distortions of the design. These errors make the coin rare and unique, which naturally drives up its market value. Another reason a 1970 Washington quarter might be worth more than you expect is its rarity in high grades. While millions of these coins were produced, most of them circulated extensively, which means that the vast majority of surviving coins have experienced significant wear and tear. When you do find one that has been preserved in near-mint condition, it can be a gem for collectors, and in certain cases, it can fetch a much higher price than a typical, worn-out coin from the same year. Interestingly, the 1970 quarter is often overshadowed by coins from other years, especially those from the 1960s and early 1980s, which have become more widely recognized for their rarity or special minting circumstances. But that doesn't mean the 1970 Washington quarter is without its own intrigue. As time goes on, certain coins that once seemed common start to gain attention, especially as the market for rare U.S. coins continues to grow. Let's talk about some examples of 1970 Washington quarters that have fetched notable prices. When it comes to valuable coins, collectors often look for those that have been certified and graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC. These coins are given a grade that signifies their quality, and a high-quality grade can make a 1970 quarter worth far more than you might imagine. A 1970 quarter in pristine condition, or one with a rare minting error, could be listed in auctions for prices that would make most people double-check their pocket change. One of the most impressive sales of a 1970 Washington quarter occurred when a particularly well-preserved example, with no noticeable wear and an exceptional level of detail, was sold at auction. Due to its rarity in such condition and the interest from collectors, this coin fetched an incredible price, $107,300. Yes, you read that correctly. This 1970 Washington quarter, which most people would overlook, ended up being worth over $100,000, proving that sometimes the true value of a coin can be hidden beneath the surface. The price for a 1970 Washington quarter may not always reach such lofty heights, but the possibility is there. The right coin in the right condition can be worth far more than its face value. And the 1970 quarter is a great example of how seemingly ordinary coins can surprise you when the right conditions align. For those of you who are into coin hunting, it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for this particular year and looking for those mint errors or high-grade examples that could be worth a significant amount of money. In conclusion, while the 1970 Washington quarter might not immediately stand out as one of the most famous coins in American history, its potential value is undeniable. Whether it's the rarity of a mint error or the exceptional condition of the coin, there are collectors who are willing to pay top dollar for the right 1970 quarter. And as we've seen, a well-preserved or error-struck coin can be worth as much as $107,300. So, the next time you come across a 1970 Washington quarter, don't just pass it by, take a closer look. You might just be holding a coin worth a small fortune. Top 3. The 1980 Washington quarter dollar may seem like just another coin from the late 20th century, blending in with the countless other coins that filled circulation at the time. However, as any seasoned numismatist or avid coin collector will tell you, there's always more to a coin than meets the eye, especially when it comes to the Washington quarters. While many collectors focus on the more famous years or those with notable errors, the 1980 Washington quarter is an interesting piece of history that holds a surprising value under the right circumstances. The Washington quarter itself has been in circulation since 1932, featuring the portrait of George Washington designed by John Flanagan. It's been a staple of American coinage for decades, and its design has become one of the most recognizable symbols of the U.S. Mint. By the 1980s, however, the quarter had undergone some significant changes. Most notably, by this point, the United States had fully moved away from using silver in its coins. The 1980 Washington quarter, like those before it from the mid-1960s onward, is made of a copper-nickel composition, making it a far cry from the solid silver quarters of earlier years. But just because the 1980 Washington quarter isn't made from precious metals doesn't mean it isn't valuable. The truth is, coins from this era, especially those in excellent condition or with rare characteristics, can be surprisingly valuable to collectors. So, why would a seemingly ordinary 1980 quarter be worth more than just 25 cents? The key factors here are rarity, condition, and the occasional minting error that makes a particular coin stand out from the others. Let's talk about the condition first. In the world of coin collecting, the grade of a coin is incredibly important. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. While the 1980 Washington quarter might seem like a common find, a coin that's been well preserved, with no wear and tear and minimal surface marks, becomes an attractive option for collectors. Coins that are close to mint state, or even in a pristine state, are highly desirable. A 1980 quarter in uncirculated or nearly uncirculated condition could be worth many times its face value, as collectors are always on the lookout for coins that have been well preserved and show little to no signs of handling. However, it's not just about the condition. The real excitement comes when you factor in rare mint errors. Over the years, the U.S. Mint has occasionally produced coins with mistakes, and these errors, while sometimes small or difficult to detect, can make a huge difference in the value of the coin. Mint errors can include things like off-center strikes, double dies, or even coins with mismatched planchets. A 1980 Washington quarter with one of these errors can be worth far more than an ordinary, error-free coin. Some of the most sought-after errors can cause the price of a coin to soar, as collectors are always hunting for these rare variations to complete their collections. What makes a 1980 Washington quarter especially intriguing is that many of these coins were mass-produced and saw widespread circulation, meaning that most of them are in average to poor condition. But there are always a few exceptional examples that were set aside and kept in pristine condition, sometimes even by accident. Finding one of these rare, well-preserved pieces can be a jackpot for any collector. The 1980 quarter is also part of a series that is still somewhat underappreciated compared to older coins, which means there may be hidden gems just waiting to be discovered. Additionally, as time passes, certain coins become more valuable simply because they're harder to find in great condition. As more people begin to realize the worth of a well-preserved 1980 Washington quarter, demand increases and prices can rise accordingly. While the quarter's face value may be just 25 cents, collectors are willing to pay much more for a coin that's rare or in excellent condition. And of course, when it comes to auction houses and private sales, the price of these coins can sometimes skyrocket well beyond what you might expect. Now, here's where things get really interesting. In certain rare cases, a 1980 Washington quarter can sell for a jaw-dropping amount of money. If you happen to stumble upon a coin that has both a unique minting error and is in superb condition, you could be holding onto a coin that's worth far more than the mere quarter it was initially intended to be. In fact, there have been cases where a particularly rare and well-preserved 1980 quarter, featuring a unique minting error or a stunning grade, has been sold for a mind-blowing amount. One such coin recently fetched an astonishing price of $95,300. If you find yourself sorting through a jar of coins or checking your change, don't overlook that 1980 Washington quarter. While it may seem like just another coin from the late 20th century, it could very well be the hidden gem you've been looking for. Whether it's in perfect condition or features an unusual error, the right 1980 quarter can be worth much more than its face value. And in some cases, that value could be a life-changing amount. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and you never know what treasures might be hidden in plain sight. So, the next time you come across a 1980 Washington quarter, take a moment to inspect it closely. It might just be a coin that's worth much more than you ever expected. You could be holding on to a coin worth as much as $95,300. Yes, you heard that right. What seems like an ordinary quarter might just be worth a small fortune. Top 4. The 1990 Washington quarter dollar is a coin that often gets overlooked when collectors are scanning through their collections or sifting through pocket change. Unlike other years of the Washington quarter series, which may have been famous for their historical significance or unique features, the 1990 quarter tends to blend in as just another coin produced by the U.S. Mint. However, like many other seemingly ordinary coins, there's a fascinating world behind the 1990 Washington quarter that could reveal a hidden treasure in your pocket. The Washington quarter, introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, has remained a standard feature of U.S. currency ever since. Over the decades, it has undergone various changes, but its iconic design, featuring the profile of George Washington, has remained a constant. The 1990 Washington quarter is part of the modern series, which has been produced primarily with a copper-nickel composition, replacing the silver content that dominated earlier quarters. But what makes the 1990 quarter stand out among other similar coins from the 1980s and 1990s? At first glance, there might not be anything exceptional about it. After all, it's part of a series that's been produced in large numbers and circulated widely. So why would this particular year have any significant value? The truth lies in a few key factors: rarity, condition, and potential minting errors. First and foremost, the condition of the coin is a major factor in determining its value. Like any other coin, the 1990 Washington quarter's worth is directly tied to how well it has been preserved. Coins that have remained in uncirculated or near-mint condition are rare finds in a world where quarters often see heavy circulation. If you come across a 1990 Washington quarter that has little to no wear, with sharp details and a pristine appearance, then you're looking at something that could fetch a much higher price than its face value. But it's not just about condition. Mint errors can also have a huge impact on a coin's value. Mistakes during the minting process happen more often than you might think, and certain types of errors can make a coin incredibly valuable. For example, double die errors, where the design appears twice due to a misalignment during the striking process, can make a coin very rare and highly desirable. Similarly, off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, can make a quarter stand out as a unique error piece. If you're lucky enough to find a 1990 Washington quarter with one of these minting errors, you could have a small fortune in your hands. Errors like this turn an otherwise standard coin into a rare collectible that can command significant interest from numismatists. As collectors seek out these unique pieces to complete their collections, the demand for error coins tends to push the prices up, often well beyond what you'd expect for a regular coin from the same year. While the 1990 Washington quarter may not have the same historical significance or scarcity as some other older coins, its potential value lies in its rarity in high grades and error variations. The 1990 quarter is part of a period where the U.S. Mint was producing vast quantities of coins, which means that many of these coins ended up being heavily circulated, leading to wear and tear. As a result, the ones that have been well preserved or that exhibit minting errors are much harder to find, making them particularly attractive to collectors who are looking for something unique. Now, Let's take a look at the market for the 1990 Washington quarter and how these factors influence the coin's value. While most of the 1990 quarters in circulation will likely only be worth face value, the market for rare coins and collectibles can be a bit unpredictable. However, collectors and dealers know that certain coins, especially those in perfect or near-perfect condition, can sell for much higher prices. A 1990 Washington quarter in pristine condition, or one with a rare minting error, could be worth much more than a mere quartered in fact. One such 1990 Washington quarter, graded in excellent condition and with a rare minting flaw, recently fetched an eye-popping price of $85,700. Yes, you read that correctly. What seemed like just another ordinary coin, barely 30 years old, turned out to be worth a fortune. This sale is a prime example of how the right combination of condition, rarity, and error can dramatically increase the value of a coin. This might sound surprising, especially when you consider how many 1990 Washington quarters were produced and how common they are in circulation. But for the savvy collector or investor, even a coin that seems ordinary at first glance can hold significant value, if it meets the right criteria. When a coin is rare enough and in excellent enough condition, it becomes more than just a part of the currency system. It becomes a piece of history that is highly sought after. The world of coin collecting is filled with hidden gems, and the 1990 Washington quarter is a perfect example of how a seemingly ordinary coin can surprise you. Whether it's a flawless example or one with a rare error, finding the right 1990 Washington quarter could be your ticket to a significant payout. As collectors continue to search for these rare pieces, the value of coins like this one is likely to keep rising over time. So, if you happen to find a 1990 Washington quarter in your collection, take the time to examine it carefully. If it's in excellent condition, or if you spot any unusual minting errors, it might just be worth more than you could have imagined. As the market for rare coins continues to grow, you might be holding on to a coin that's worth as much as $85,700. It's a reminder that sometimes the most valuable treasures can come from the most unexpected places,